I left America because it wasn't fulfilling for me. Freedom represents to me the choice and commitment to living a life that aligns with my or your own personal values. Something Da Nang gives me that Florida did not is the opportunity to just fully be myself without any type of external judgment or care for, other people's opinions. And it also gave me the chance to experience other people's cultures and their way of living. My name is Denise and I live on $600 a month in Da Nang, Vietnam. Vietnamese people can be touchy, but I think it's in the best way. Personally, I love Vietnamese people, down. I've been flourishing in Da Nang because the little things have compounded. So the small meet and greets or whatever with people, the little conversations, the spontaneous little blessings throughout the day. I would say my only regret maybe come from... My name is Denise. I am 29 years old, newly 29, and I'm from Florida. I am a brand strategist. I've been living in Da Nang for 9 months. I chose this neighborhood. Well, actually, I was living in a different apartment before, and then I kind of found out that the apartment was maybe taking more on the back end, so I needed to kind of get out of that situation. And I quickly looked for somewhere else to live. Originally, I was staying in places that were maybe around $1,000 a month until a friend told me that you're overspending. So she helped me find a place. We tracked down this in the nick of time when I really needed it, and it was right in the center of Mian, 5 minutes from the beach, and yeah. The thing that made me split or decide to leave, I would say it wasn't a split decision. It was more so an accumulation of seeing Bali on TikTok. Because at the time I'm in Tallahassee, I was going to Florida State University and I just graduated with a bio degree and things like that. And the world just still felt stale. The neighborhood just felt stale. There was no life, there was no nature, no newness. And so seeing Bali and hearing people's stories and hearing about the cost of living, of course, too, it got me excited at the possibility of traveling. I didn't expect that I would travel as soon as I did, but I was a big believer in whatever I put out there, it's gonna come back to me. So no matter what, I'm gonna take baby steps. I'm Denise, and this is my crib in Da Nang. So here we have my bedroom. This is where I like to eat in my bed every day. No, I'm just kidding. But here you can see I have my little makeshift studio that I packed with me all the way from America, where I'll record music. And then this is the remnants because I am in transition right now. So I'll be boarding a flight and moving out of this place eventually as well. But yeah, so here I would do my work. And of course I have my closets over there. And then here is the kitchen, which is where I cook my meal prep food when I meal prep, which is quite often. So chicken, potatoes, things like that. And then you see the dishes and all that glory. And then this is the bathroom. So I like it because it's just cute and it, obviously has the split glass instead of a wet bath situation. So yeah, this is where I also enjoy my time. And then last but not least is the balcony where I can dry my clothes up here. And then here's a washing machine. So, I wash my clothes and I hang them up, or I just send it to the washers to have it one and done. This here is the dining area. It's super cute and quaint, obviously. Normally I would have a beautiful bouquet and more things, but like I said, I'm in transition, so this is what you get. My water bill is 80,000 dong. My electricity ranges from about anywhere between $20 to $40, I would say. I tend to leave on my AC and my fan and all that when I sleep. My phone plan is with Viatel and it's about 135,000 dong a month, so that's about $5. I would say $50 to $60 maximum is what I spend on groceries. Yes, I rent a motorbike. I pay 1.6 million a month for my motorbike, so that's about 60 US. I spend about 10 US dollars on gas. So every time I go, it's probably about 90,000 dong. My rent is my rent is 7.8 million, and in US that's about $295. For entertainment, I love to ride my motorbike along the beach all the way into the mountains. I love to go to, there's a beach in the mountains, like a campground beach that's gorgeous. So I'll go out there with some friends. I may go dancing on the weekend or attend like a community event. On entertainment, I probably spend around $30 a month, maybe 40 max. I would say I spend probably around 600 US a month for all of my expenses. Yeah, because I also tend to cook. I love to meal prep. My gym membership is super steal as well. I spend about 45 US for 3 months. So 15 or so dollars a month for 3 months. I think I've met people who live comfortably with 500 US dollars. For example, the place that I'm living in right now is 295 US dollars, which is a mind-blowing steal in my opinion. So I would say if you're really wanting comfort, I would shoot for maybe $1,500 max. I would say that I did have a really beautiful lifestyle in Florida. I would say the only difference is obviously in America, it encourages like really hustling and you put your foot to the pedal. So I felt then that my income was even higher. The dilemma that happened when I started traveling was that I got so comfortable because the expenses are so low. So yeah, I would say I had a beautiful lifestyle both here and there. I definitely think people in America underestimate how expensive their lives have become. Especially because a lot of people assume that you need a lot of money to travel, which I think is also a big misconception as well. So I left America initially because I was looking for just freedom, feeling. I've always been like the kind of person to like beat to my own drum. I guess that's the saying. And I like to go for experiences that bring more life to my doorstep rather than just like sticking to the status quo. So when I first saw Bali on Instagram, I was like, I'm going to Bali. And then I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. 6 months later, I ended up in Thailand. Once my lease ended, it was super spontaneous. And I fell in love. So I went to Thailand, Vietnam, and Bali. And then I went back home for 2 years. I got my place, I got my car. I was excited. I thought, I'm just going to bring the energy from traveling to America, and I found that it just wasn't the same. So I packed up everything and I traveled again. This time as a solo traveler because unfortunately, unfortunately, I broke up with my ex right before traveling. I would kind of go back to my personal experience. When I initially wanted to travel, it was because I just felt like there was no feeling in America for me. So when I initially traveled, it was to see what else was out there in the world. When I speak to other people, sometimes it really just comes down to the cost of living in the States and realizing, okay, if I make internet money, then I can take that elsewhere rather than staying in the States and paying, inflated costs and things like that. So yeah, and then also social media plays a big role. So once they're able to see that there's community on the other side of the world where people are appreciating you as well and you feel home in your skin, it's kind of like, why not? So what surprised me most, I would say after arriving in Vietnam, was one, how fashionable the people are, the style. I'm so inspired by the ladies and how they're so confident with content. Like you go on the beach and you just see them like fully, with a full photo shoot happening. I think that's the coolest thing ever. Also just how homey I feel. Like this gives me such a home energy, and I'm not sure if it's because in ways it's similar to South Florida, but yeah, I would say overall just how modern, accessible, fun, inclusive, and the fact that I found a Black community here too. That was very interesting as well. It's the first time I've ever traveled and joined a Black community, so it's been a super unique experience. The Black community, I would think of it almost like if you were joining a Nomad community or any just type of group where, you have a shared commonality. And so obviously with the Black community, it's like we go to a lot of hip hop, like we put on hip hop events and game nights, but it's really just about being able to connect with people that look like you in a, foreign country all the way across the world. So Vietnamese people can be touchy, but I think it's in the best way personally. I love Vietnamese people like down. So, I mean, they can touch me up, well, appropriately. Whereas, like in other countries that I visited, when they touch me or they grab me and stuff, it's a little maybe more aggressive and stuff. With Vietnam, it's purely love. Sometimes to the point where, like I said, they're fascinated with my skin and fascinated with just, me a lot of the time. So, when they call me hot girl, like a hot girl, beautiful. So it's always just love. So I initially traveled with my ex, and we were together during the travels. You know what they say, like traveling will tell you whether or not, like it'll show you certain things, I guess, with your friends. It'll kind of make or break those type of relationships. Unfortunately for us, we did decide to split while we were traveling. So for the last 2 months, we were just like cohabitating, living in the same space. But yeah, so then we traveled back to the States, went our separate ways. I established my own life and things like that. Ended up meeting somebody else. We dated for about a year and then decided to split, which is what led me to solo travel. Well, I was already planning to leave America, and I told my boyfriend at the time, like the second boyfriend, that that was my plan to travel regardless. I was gonna like end my lease and hop on a flight. He had never traveled out of the country before, so that was really daunting for him. So we kind of didn't see eye to eye there. And then when we did decide to split, I decided to keep my ticket and go regardless because I knew that's what my heart wanted regardless. This was actually my ex from college. We dated for about close to 4 years, and he was like a best friend to me. And unfortunately, when I was in the Philippines right before coming to Da Nang, I found out about his passing, which was just, obviously one of the most heartbreaking experiences. And it was so sudden that I couldn't like get home in time, and I wasn't getting information. That was like honestly one of the hardest parts of travel. And for like 2 weeks straight, I was in my Da Nang apartment here, just like, or not in this one, but a different place that I lived at, just sobbing endlessly. But I did write a beautiful song in tribute to him. And every day he gives me the reminder to be grateful for the fact that I have life. Vietnamese, like their random acts of kindness. For me, it comes down to sometimes it's even smaller than just like service. For example, one service thing, I went to get my nail polish removed and I was ready to pay the nail tech afterward. And she was like, no, it's free. Like, it's okay. I just took off your nail polish, but there was a cost for it. So little things like that are really almost foreign in my mind. And then also, the little things like when I drive down the road and the woman next door who recognizes me, she'll stand up on a chair to wave hello. Moments like that to me, I would say, are really, really special. When I first left, the first time, my family, I would say, they were just happy that I was with someone. This time, when I told them about 6 months prior to me leaving, maybe a little sooner than that actually, and it was more so just like okay, at this point, people tend to know, okay, Denise is going to do whatever she sets her mind to. But the part that was, I guess, a little destabilizing was right before I left is where it really felt like with full respect, like my mom and my sister, they kind of just I'm trying to word it in a way where I'm not, because I respect my family, but I would say that I just left feeling kind of like abandoned in terms of like that loving support, just how things rolled out. And I ended up, luckily, by the grace of my best friends who've been with me for 15 years, they managed to meet with me the day before my flight to kind of be those anchors for me to know like, this is something huge that you're doing. Be excited. You're inspiring people with your journey rather than feeling selfish for choosing my own path. So when I first traveled with my ex or my boyfriend at the time, it felt more like I had an anchor in a way. So I had somebody that saw me and I saw them. So it made the experience feel lighter. But solo traveling made me feel like, okay, everything is based on me and like It was interesting at first exploring who I am alone on the other side of the world. But now, honestly, I would say I would solo travel anytime over traveling with other people just because um, I get to do what I want. I get to enjoy my days, and there's like no drama unless, some other person that I can just walk away from. So, yeah, I would say personally, it gives me the freedom to just like explore myself and explore where I'm going. The first time I traveled, I was with my ex or my partner at the time. And even though the same uncertainties existed, it's always helpful to have somebody familiar to kind of anchor you. So solo traveling and being like doing this alone really showed me that I can do anything I put my mind to. So it's still an ongoing process, of course, because I have my fears and then my doubts, and then I have these moments where I'm just like, wow, look how beautiful these opportunities are like this. But overall, I would say it definitely gave me the space to become confident in who I am.
You touched on something you just said.
Oh, yes. Moving abroad definitely forces me to confront my future. If anything, it's definitely made me answer the question of like, what do I actually want my life to become? Rather than just coming here and being like, oh, this is the end of my story. Now I live abroad and, I just go on a beach every day and go to work. I don't care for that. I think this has now been the landing pad for me to continue to build opportunities and impacts and things like that globally. 5 years from now, I definitely still see myself living abroad, but I do also see myself having a lot of new creative opportunities with like working with businesses, sort of blending my creative world with marketing world, but abroad, like working with businesses here, putting on cool events. Um, yeah, my business having, I want to bring on more people into my team and work on projects that are like shifting culture even more than some of the work that I've done in the past. So yeah, basically just a leveled up version of where I am right now. I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that you won't be accepted. Obviously, with America's history with Vietnam, but also as a Black American, um, I would say personally, I feel so loved here, and I feel like I can really just be myself. I feel beautiful in my skin, and I love interacting with people. Like the friendliness is out of this world. And also, another one I would say is there's often a misconception that no one speaks English and it's so complicated to pull out your translator and to get around. But I've been in Korea in the middle of absolutely nowhere and found my way, an hour to my home in the like at midnight. So it's a lot more easy to get around than one would imagine. Biggest misunderstanding about moving abroad is that I think it's either extreme. One, that life is absolutely perfect and just paradise all the time, or two, that it's a lot harder and lonely and tiring and things like that. Both of those. I would say it's the same as life anywhere, but I find that for me and other expats, it seems to bring a different type of fulfillment than staying home. Yes, moving abroad absolutely helped my mental health. Back home, I was feeling anxiety with like relationships and things like that, and just wondering what else I was going to get out of life other than just like money. Now I feel just, I have no other choice but to ground in gratitude. So for the most part, I feel clear. I would say my only regrets maybe come from things that I didn't know about prior. Like for example, I would have loved to sell my car before I left, kind of kind of thing if I knew I'd be riding dirty on this motorbike. But unfortunately, I'm gonna go home to handle those logistics now. Little things like that. I probably wouldn't have purchased my car, for example, if I'd known that I would have traveled again. It's definitely a challenge to navigate loss and just heavy things alone, because my best friends are on a completely different time zone. So in times where I'm like crashing out or going like through a grieving process, I'm having to maybe like vaguely speak to it about with a friend here without knowing like whether it's overwhelming them or not, because obviously another caveat with traveling is all of the friendships are new until time passes. But back home, my normal support system wasn't always available for that reason. And so even like with finding out that my grandma has cancer, which is now why I'm going home and I'm grateful for that, it was just hard because it felt, in a way, I almost felt like, is this a punishment because I'm traveling in a weird way? Um, yeah, but now I've just learned life happens and yeah, so. But luckily, I have had beautiful people that have been my support while I've been here to navigate through those really tough times. But it would be nice, of course, to be able to like be surrounded by friends and family. I would say people would mistake housing for being more expensive than it is. A lot of the times it's actually lower if you know who to go to and how to find the right landlords and things like that. But depending on the avenue, you might end up paying triple the price than what it actually is. Something Da Nang gives me that Florida did not is the opportunity to just fully be myself without any type of external judgment or care for, other people's opinions. And it also gave me the chance to experience other people's cultures and their way of living. So in a way, it kind of gave me a different type of peace and the ability to slow down. While traveling, the way I interact with my fears, it's changed. I would say at the start, I was sort of maybe running off of adrenaline, which was, I felt like I could do anything. And then after a few months, now with Da Nang being my base, that's when I started to learn that solo travel is not an escape. It's not just diving into a whole new world and forgetting your old life. It's still building your current one. So um, I did start to have moments where my anxiety would get really high and I wasn't sure whether I would be able to like accomplish certain things or do certain things, especially because my family doesn't fully support the fact that I travel even though I'm independent. So it sometimes feels like I'm really navigating everything alone. But I would say honestly now, because things continually work out and I also prove to myself that I can make anything work, now I'm at a place where I'm just like, all right, bring on the next challenge and I'm gonna figure it out. So my friends always say that since I've left America, I glow even brighter. And I feel that personally. I just feel since leaving, I've had the space to hear my own thoughts and to honestly just have my mind almost reshaped by seeing new cultures and listening to different perspectives, not only from the locals, but other expats from Germany and Switzerland and that live some of the coolest lives. So I think overall it's making me a more well-rounded person and it's also giving me a deeper appreciation for life. Ooh, okay. So I describe myself as confident, open, ambitious. I would say my strongest attribute is probably it's probably the underlying current that allows all the other things to be, and it's my resilience or my relentlessness to kind of just commit to whatever I set my mind to. If I could travel back in time and meet myself before I went on this journey, the advice I would give to myself is stop fearing so much. Trust your process and trust what your heart is calling you toward because it's usually right. And also continue to stand in your values and hold on to the things that matter to you because wherever you go in the world, they're going to come with you and start to form the foundation of who you are. Yes, I do think it's possible to build a serious business from Vietnam or anywhere. I just think the difference is your systems have to be in place and stronger than, back home. Yes, more so, living abroad has given me the space, the room, the time to be more creative. And also, yeah, like I've done open mics here as well, and I've connected with a lot of other creatives, which surprised me. So, yeah, for sure. When I'm fully responsible for myself, freedom feels like, funny enough, I'll put it like this. I've had more realizations of how my mom raised me growing up, and now I'm like, okay, make sure I do these things for myself. Like going to my doctor visits and like making sure I'm eating 3 meals a day. So just creating structure around the freedom. But at the same time, I would say freedom for me looks like joy first, and then, the monotonous things after. To me, home now is something I feel like I built within. Because when the physical structure changes so often, it, especially when there's an actual home that I don't necessarily feel like is home, which is Florida, I've come to learn that home now is wherever I'm able to cultivate joy, security, community, giving back, things like that. Single biggest benefit of relocating is just feeling like I get the chance to meet myself in many different versions and meet the world in many different versions as well. My favorite version of myself, if I had to paint a picture, it would be me riding on a motorbike past the beach, getting off and darting straight into the water, coming out and sipping a mango smoothie, reading a book under the palm trees, and then going home to take a good nap. For somebody watching this, thinking about moving abroad, I would say make the decision sooner rather than later. And honestly, trust your steps. Meet people. That's one of the best ways to feel like integrated into the expat culture and just, a new country in general. Put yourself out there and really explore. Allow yourself to be surprised by what you'll come across. Life is so beautiful on the other side of fear. And at any point, go for the life that is calling you. You may have hard times or it may be a bumpy road at the start, but you will figure it out. Just stick to it.